Welcome on in, welcome on in, welcome on in. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where and when you are watching us. Welcome on into the Cards Companion. I'm joined by my fabulous friend, James. James, how we doing tonight?
Doing great. We had a bye week this past weekend. Plenty to talk about around the conference and the country as a whole. It's great to
Oh,
be in
yeah.
game again.
Oh, yeah. It's just, it's nice to, we were kind of getting in the swing of things and, you take that break. It's nice to be back into it. As you previously said, though, coming off a bye, not much Louisville to talk about. It's been a quiet week at camp, a quiet week of practice after James Madison, but now all of our attention goes forward to Bowling Green. James, what are your initial thoughts about Bowling Green?
Bowling Green's a team. They're coming off a win, 23-13 over a Liberty team that seems to be underperforming preseason projections for them. Bowling Green has a win. They were projected to lose last week. Week 2, they played Cincinnati. Although they were valiant in their effort at Cincinnati, it was a 34-17 Cincinnati win. They're a team that struggles on the defensive side of the ball. They're going to run a lot of that similar offense that Jacksonville State. I keep going back to that game because we had so much trouble with the quarterback run. They're going to run a lot of RPO against you, but I don't think they're as good at it as Jacksonville State was. I think they're definitely going to create some issues that you're going to see later on in the year.
Yeah, I think looking at this football game, so the spread came out today. I believe it opened up at 27.5. Does that sound right?
I think, yeah, 26, 27.5, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere around that number, depending on the book that you're going through. This is not a G5 game like James Madison. This is not one like Jacksonville State. This is a G5 game. Louisville actually doesn't play all that much. It's, all respect to Bowling Green. They're not a particularly good G5. This is a game that should be a major get-right game for Louisville, especially going into conference play. But just kind of getting straight into Bowling Green, though, I watched, their Liberty game and their Cincinnati game. I couldn't find their Lafayette game anywhere on streaming. But they're not particularly good on offense. Like, this is not a good offense at all. They consistently rank around the 100s in offensive production, both statistically and analytically. They're still trying to find their groove. Like you said, they have found success with a little bit of a quick game RPO, but this is an offense I'm not particularly concerned about.
No,
I don't know if do you feel any different?
this game falls. So JMU, like I've boasted about them the past 2 weeks, even before we played them, and throughout the summer, me and you both were hammering at JMU's possible playoff G5 team. This is very much not that. It's not FCS Eastern Kentucky. All credit to Eastern, but it's a slightly above Eastern. It's a game you should win. You probably see 3 or 4 quarterbacks. You see Deuce. You see Brady. Early second half, I'd like to see the starters play a little bit more in the second half in this game, just to get more reps with all the new pieces, get more fluidity before you go to Pittsburgh next week.
Yeah. The one thing as well, defensively, they're fairly stout defensively.
Yeah.
They've only given up more than 35 points. They held Cincinnati to 34. I believe they have around a top 50 defense, both analytically along with statistically. With that being said, though, this team will really struggle some pass pro.
Mm-hmm.
They're very good at preventing the run, but also when you look at it, Lafayette, I don't know that much about Lafayette, but I can tell you Cincinnati, they're not a very good team on the ground. Same thing with Liberty. So I don't know if they've been fully challenged with that. With all of that being said, though, I mean, you have Isaac Brown in the backfield. You shouldn't be struggling to consistently run the ball against this team. But this is a great opportunity for the Louisville offense, and especially the offensive line, in my opinion. I believe Sylvester's coming back this week. I think
don't
that's
know.
kind of the big rumor.
I don't know if he's a full go, and I honestly don't want him to be, if that makes sense. I think you put him out there and limit a snap count, just let him knock the rust off. Because, like I said, this is a game you should win by 30 points.
Yeah.
Let him knock the rust off, pull him, and let these other guys that had been playing kind of get their rhythm going, just in case you need them later on.
Yeah, and I just keep looking at it. It's a massive, massive, massive opportunity for both the offensive line and for Miller Moss specifically. Both of them kind of get their confidence back a little bit after a rough week with JMU, and then just kind of go forward.
We mentioned the odds of the spread of the game. It's 26, 27.5. I got you a spread. I want to throw it at you. A Cardinal Companion betting line.
An alternate line. What's up?
Clev Lubin over under 1.5 sacks.
I'm actually going over. So one thing with Bowling Green, they've given up 6 sacks this season, 2 sacks per game. I watched the way that Dante Corleone just manhandled their defensive line or their offensive line. And something that Sat's been doing with Corleone is they're kind of doing like the opposite of the Ashton Gelati thing last year, where they're somewhat kind of moving them outside. Clev Lubin should be an absolute monster this game.
Another defensive line I would like to hit on for the viewers, as well as you, Josh. TJ Quinn is a plus 200 odds to get 10 plus tackles in this game. I'm taking over in that one. That's pretty for me.
Yeah, and one thing that I don't like, speculating on injuries very much, but I'm not happy that the injury happened, but with the Stanquan Clark injury, it is nice that you have kind of this game as a buffer to get that defense a little more reacclimated. This is not a particularly good offense. You're a lot more talented than them, so you're not just getting thrown right into league play, dealing with that. But the good thing, news going around camp is, they're expecting Stanquan to make a recovery at some point in the end of the season. I don't think it's been confirmed exactly what happened to him.
I think Sports Illustrated did put out it was a broken ankle with no ligament damage.
Yeah. So,
some people in the viewership may not know. It's very rare if you break your ankle, especially in the way Stanquan did, to have no ligament damage at all. Very, very lucky. And usually the time frame to recover from that for the average human, 6 to 8 weeks. Athletes by nature have a higher recovery rate than the average person. Not saying anything, but it's the best case scenario you could ask.
Yeah. So, I think this is just this whole game. I mean, I don't want to sound overtly confident because as we've seen through the first few weeks of this early season, anything can happen any week. It's a 1-game schedule it's a 1-game season every week. But this is a game that Bowling Green, they're going to struggle against Louisville. Louisville matches up well, and I think this is going to be a really good confidence booster, especially going into Pittsburgh afterwards. What's your score prediction for Bowling Green?
I think Louisville wins 46.
I'm kind of around the same line as you. I'm going 42-3. This shouldn't be a ball game. And again, we mean that as respectfully as we can to our opponents, but it's the reality of the situation. Game is at noon on Saturday, L&N Federal Credit Union Stadium. Get out there, be loud, support the Cards. It's going to be great weather and a great tailgating atmosphere as always. But with all that being said, let's roll in a little bit though around the ACC because man, it was a rough week for the league.
Yes, it was. At 12 o'clock, the big game of last week, you got Clemson and Georgia Tech right off the bat. Clemson's got some serious issues on the offensive side of the ball. They're not able to really create any running game at all on that side outside of Cade's quarterback scrambles. Their wide receiver rooms being hammered by injuries. Don't get me wrong, Georgia Tech and Coach Brent down there, he got those boys playing. But at the same time, I don't think Georgia Tech's as good as they were last year. I think they're missing a step. And it might be fixed as the season goes on. But both of those teams showed some glaring weaknesses in that game yesterday.
No, they did. Clemson, that's a conversation to be had because that roster, that should be one of the best rosters in college football. That is not clicking. Klubnik, for all the preseason of praise he's gotten, it looks like it's something in his head, in between the wires. I don't know what it is, but it's not clicking. I don't think that the coaching staff at Clemson is doing them very many favors, to be honest. I mean, this is a year where it would not surprise me if Clemson won less than 10 football games, being, very realistic with you. For Georgia Tech, man, that's my guy, Brent Key. I love Brent Key. I've been called a Georgia Tech homer on social media. I have no ties to Atlanta. I have no ties to Georgia Tech. I just love Brent Key. He's a heck of a ball coach. They have a good team, but I don't think it's a great team. I think Haynes King is a phenomenal quarterback, and I think there's not a lot of talent around Haynes King. Now, their line of scrimmage play is great, and that's what you expect out of Brent. But the skill positions are a little concerning. The defense is a little concerning. I put out a tweet yesterday after the Clemson loss, and I said, hey, Louisville's destiny is in its own hands with Clemson. It's in your own hands. And a lot of people pointed out, oh, well, Georgia Tech plays nobody. Man, I still think Georgia Tech's probably going to lose 2 league games.
Yeah.
The roster isn't that much further along from the middle of the pack. Along with that, you look at Haynes King. Man, Haynes King looks like, when you play NCAA and you have the fatigue system where your body's all red. That's
He's
what
not,
Haynes King is after every single football game.
his wear and tear is dark red right now.
With Illinois for a few quarters and then fell off. They play Tulane, they lose to Tulane. That's not good. That's not good at all. Now, Tulane's a very good ball team. Don't get me wrong for that level of football, but Duke should win that game every game.
The funny part about that game is Darian Mensah came from Tulane, and Duke paid
Yeah.
up $4 million a year for 2 years for him. That Tulane team not taking anything from them at all. Like as you saw this week, they got received votes in the Cardinal Companions poll we put out. That Tulane team has a chance to win the American. They may be the best team in that conference, but that Duke, the amount of money and time that Manny Diaz and that Duke administration put into that football team, you expect more in that kind of game. You went into yesterday so that you knew Tulane was going to give you their best shot because that's just a team that they've become over the course of the past 4 years. But that's a game you have to win. Like if you have any aspirations to do anything, like top 4 in ACC possible, as some people had predicted them to be, or any of the big bowls in Florida that you may have had aspirations to make it to this year, that's a ball game you have to win.
Yeah. And then kind of moving down the list further, you had a Pittsburgh-style collapse in the backyard brawl. Narduzzi, I mean, I'm not saying this to trash talk the guy because I've been very critical of Narduzzi and of that football program, but it's been a consistent downslide since the onset of NIL. And I know not all of that is Narduzzi's fault at the end of the day, but it's becoming typical of Pittsburgh, these sort of collapse that you see. And that looked like a bad football team against West Virginia.
And that was the problem is you went in after 2 weeks, you had kind of knew West Virginia was not a great Big 12 football team. They were not good on offense.
Mm-hmm.
They really weren't great on defense. Ohio torched them. But they were able to get pressure constantly, something they couldn't even do in Ohio's offensive line last week. They got pressure every time Pittsburgh dropped back. That's very concerning for Pittsburgh in a league where there's a lot of nationally ranked edge rushers. And I think it favors when we play them next week. We got Clev, we got Wesley, we got Adonjay, we got really, I think any of them. I think any of our depth chart at the edge could compete with West Virginia's this year. They're just down. They're a team that they brought in over 60 transfers. They're a new team. That's a game you have to win if you're Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh was favored by more than 7 points going into it. I know it's a rivalry, but they just seemed off. They didn't show up. Pittsburgh had an interception they threw inside the 10-yard line there in the second quarter with a chance to gain momentum. It just felt like every time they had an opportunity, they bit themselves in the foot.
Yeah, and then, continue to go down the line. The SMU game, SMU won. I mean, I give you somewhat of credit for that. But, man, they were down multiple touchdowns to a brand new to Division I Missouri State into that game.
And another aspect of that game, SMU went to Missouri State, which was weird in itself.
Yeah. I respect it, though. I do respect it.
Yeah. Missouri State's not a very good team. They're in
they're awful.
USC, what was it? Was it 70 points? If it not 70, it was high 60s.
Yeah.
On them. And that was they called the dogs off. They could have scored as much as they wanted on that team.
Mm-hmm.
And preseason, SMU was supposed to be SMU of last year. Everybody knew you were coming. Everybody knew Kevin Jennings. They knew Harden. They knew all the wide receivers. And the thing is, you're supposed to be better than what that USC team was. And don't get me wrong, you can't compare week to week. Same opponent, everything's different scheme. But even on drives, once the momentum did swing, you weren't scoring at will. You were working to score against a team that wasn't up to par with the lower part of the conference.
Well, I mean, you look at Bill Connolly, S&P Plus with ESPN. That's where he ranks all the teams in college football, like 1 to 900 something. Missouri State, through his rankings, is worse than a good amount of Division II.
We got a breaking news as we've been here live.
Did somebody get fired?
Last week, yes. Last week, we said which coach would be fired from a P4 first. The winner of that award is Deshaun Foster of UCLA. He just was let go.
Oh, that's not who I was thinking. I thought we were about to talk about the next game we're about to talk about. That's not surprising, though, man. They look awful. I don't want to get into a bunch of UCLA talk, but did they announce an interim?
They have not. They just now announced the fire. They probably will in an hour.
I love this breaking news while we record. This is fun. But back to the SMU thing. Just The way I look at SMU, I just did the whole spiel about Georgia Tech. SMU is a worse Georgia Tech, it feels like. The same exact situations.
I agree, but I don't. I think Georgia Tech has the ability to beat you through the air. They don't want to. That's not the way they're coached. They want to beat you on the ground, but they have the ability to take the top off. SMU's the exact opposite in a way. It feels like they want to take the top off, but they're forced to run based on personnel. And I think that causes a conflict because Rhett Ashley's wanting to pass the ball so much, it's creating issues because Kevin Jennings, his best attribute is his ability to extend the plays. And the play calling so far this year is these long developing plays, and there's no room for him to get out. So it's boxing, it's making either they're going to score a touchdown or it's a 3 and out. Those are fixable issues, but they need to be able to develop a running game. It's the fact that they didn't run at will against that Missouri State team was very concerning.
The next game on the schedule, going down the list that we're talking about here, and this is the game that I thought we were about to talk. When you said somebody was fired, I thought this is where we were going. That's Virginia Tech and ODU. I'll date myself a little bit on this also. So I was at the ODU game where they beat Virginia Tech by 3 points a couple of years ago. Highly suggested, by the way. ODU, great little stadium. If you're ever in Norfolk, check it out. Beautiful campus. Man, Virginia Tech is a broken program. It is that is the nicest way I know how to put it. It is a broken program.
Did you ever think there'd be a day where ODU would call off the dogs against Virginia Tech up 38-7?
No, it should never. Just it is insanity. And I get it. It's one of those rivalry things. Virginia Tech likes to say, "Hey, we own Tidewater recruiting. We have Michael Vick and all these great guys, and we just do so well in Tidewater." And then you got little old ODU in there taking all the 3-stars from Chesapeake and Hampton and wherever else they can get them. But it's embarrassing for the league. I hear all the time, and this isn't me going on an anti-Virginia Tech rant. I hear constantly from Virginia Tech fans, our stadium's so great. We have Metallica. It's such a hard environment. It's obviously not. If you let a lower level Sunbelt team come into your stadium and, pardon my language, but just kick the shit out of you, you can't, it's not. But it is an embarrassment to the league. That program has not been relevant in 15 years. They have to fix the program. And it is the antithesis of everything that is wrong with the ACC is the state of Virginia Tech football.
Yeah.
And I think, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he's fired today. I really wouldn't be. His buyout's only $5 million.
I'm with you on that. On the bright side of ACC football, Miami looks like a top 15 team. I've discussed that with you earlier. Based on just the state of the teams that they have played, I'm not ready to say top 5, but Carson Beck experiment seems to be doing well there. That freshman wide receiver, Tony, he looks like a guy. Yesterday, they ran the ball a little bit, but the running game hasn't came along yet. That could cause issues later on against better defenses. But honestly, right now, just the reality is they look like the class of the conference. Not saying much, but as you said earlier, that game in week 8 is going to be real fun. Week 6 weekend.
Well, I think you're realistically looking at both teams being undefeated, and it'll be a big showcase for the ACC because, sad to say, it looks like the ACC is going to lose all their Clemson showcase games. So we need those type of games for the conference. With all that being said, though, kind of talking a little ACC here, do you feel better about your outlook on Louisville's season, or do you feel worse, or about the same?
Well, in the preseason preview, I had us going 11-1 with our only loss being Clemson. After week 1, I started pulling back the fact that I thought Clemson could beat us. Now I'm very comfortable in saying we are probably going to be favored going into that Clemson game if we are what we think we are and everybody plays the way they should. SMU doesn't seem as big of an issue. It's still going on the road late in the year. Anything can happen. I think the season, if you win the games you're supposed to, you go in 11-1 and you're in Charlotte. And if you're able to get Miami, you're going in 12-0 to Charlotte. You may not even have to win in Charlotte and you're in the playoff.
Yeah, it's very hard with the Louisville conversation based off of who they have played because it is just two so extremes. And you're not going to learn anything this weekend.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think the schedule has gotten a little weaker. I was never high on Virginia Tech. I'm even lower. I didn't even know that was possible.
Breaking news. Virginia Tech expected to fire Brent Pry within the hour.
See you, brother. Get him out of the league. just that entire program. I love these late breaking things. This is fun, lit breaking content. No, so I don't feel I feel like I was never very high on Virginia Tech. I was not very high on SMU either. To be fair though, I think Cal is a little better than both of us anticipated. Outside of that, I felt really good about Clemson. Still, I feel worse about Miami. I was not hot on us winning that Miami game, a month ago. I'm less hot now. I think Miami's a solid ball team. We'll see if we can, get a little Jeff Brom magic. But I really want to see a lot more from Louisville, and I think you have the opportunity to do that against Pittsburgh ultimately. So I'm
You
kind of the
have
same.
the Pitt game. It's worrisome after what happened at Pitt 2 years ago.
Yeah,
It's not going to be that great of an atmosphere. I'm not very high on teams that play in NFL stadiums. And Pitt does in Heinz Field. It's a nice field, but that's a game where I think if you win by 2 touchdowns against a quality quarterback, I think you should be able to run at will
yeah.
because Pittsburgh's front seven, it's good. Their starting front seven is good, but they're not deep. And that's one of the best attributes of the Louisville offensive line is they are 2 to 3 deep at every position. And you had the best running back room in the country.
Yeah. I mean, that's not even really debatable anymore at this
Yeah.
point with the state of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
But moving forward, we're going to go on to our weekly picks segment. Again, these are, as if you've been watching, this is a weekly segment that we do. These are all money line picks, straight up. I'm not a professional gambler. James is not a professional gambler. Take it for what you will. If you want to play along, try to make a little bit of money. Your boy had a really good weekend last weekend.
Listen, I was watching the Clemson and Georgia Tech game. I was like, I need Clemson to win.
But we'll go on to our pick segment. Something we are going to start doing a little going forward. We're going to condense it down a little bit. I think we agreed on 5 games.
Yeah.
Just a little easier to talk about, so we're not, spitting off things about North Texas. First game on our list though is going to be Auburn at Oklahoma. What do we got? What are you thinking?
You got Jackson Arnold coming back to town. I'm taking Auburn in this one, honestly,
Oh,
because I feel I'm not sold on this Oklahoma offense too much. I think it relies a little too much on Mateer just making magic. And I think that Auburn defensive line, it's legit. I think they're going to speed up the game on him, unlike anybody's been able to so far. Up to this point, Auburn's best defense they've seen is Baylor. And as we saw against SMU, Baylor's defense isn't great. I think Auburn wins this game, and they may win it by 10 to 14 points.
damn, that's what's crazy is I'm the exact opposite of you on this one. Give me Oklahoma. I think Mateer has consistently looked good. Honestly, God, I think the Oklahoma passing attack is one of the best 10 passing offenses in the country. Like they are that dang good. But the games in Oklahoma also, that is not lost on me in that. Onto the Auburn bit though. Auburn, they're really going to want to try to run the ball. Like that is their offensive identity. They want to run the ball. No matter what Hugh Freeze says, they want to run the ball. Well, looking at that, run defense is Oklahoma's weak spot. So I'm at a conversation where do I trust John Mateer more or do I trust Auburn's ability to run the ball? Well, I just watched Auburn struggle against a certain South Alabama Jaguars to run the ball consistently. And with that being said, I trust John Mateer more. Give me Oklahoma. I don't know if it's going to be a very big win, but I feel pretty confident in Oklahoma being able to throw the ball at will.
Next up, we got a big one in G5. We got James Madison and Liberty. Liberty's coming off a loss to the team we play this week in Bowling Green. JMU's coming off a loss against us, and they're coming off a bye week. I'm interested in how JMU handles the quarterback situation in this game.
I am too, because there's been a lot of calls from JMU fans to just make a choice. And, I would kind of agree with them. Their ability to not make a choice kind of cost them the Louisville game, in a sense.
My view on the 2 quarterback system is it works. It's worked in the past. LSU used it in 2007, and they won a national championship with it. Biggest thing about it is you can't be that obvious on what you're doing with it. The thing that got them with Louisville is whenever Slofield was in, you pretty much knew they were running the ball. Whenever Alonzo was in, you knew they were passing, so it allowed the defense a little bit easier of a time adjusting on the fly. You can't do that, especially against a P4 defense that's top 30, and as Louisville is ranked top 30 in defense right now.
That is a Ron English top 10 defense in the country.
But I think even if they do that, I think there's just a way better team than this Liberty team is this year. I think their ability to run the ball, I think they run for over 200 yards this game. I don't know if you see much of changes. Honestly, you might see 3 or 4 quarterbacks. this seems like a game JMU's just going to come out and they're going to win by force. They're going to show up mad, like they have to prove something after what they feel. And many other fans, if you've been online, think they lost it for themselves. Louisville didn't beat them. So they're going to look for something to prove, and I think they use Liberty as a statement.
No, you put it the exact same way I will. I legitimately think James Madison is one of the best G5 programs in the country this year. I think they are really good, and that's not me just saying that because I'm a Louisville fan and I want to increase our resume. I think they're a really good team. I think they could compete in the ACC. I think they could compete in the Big 12, and whatever.
I'll even add this to something. I think they beat half of the conference. They beat that Virginia Tech team yesterday by 50 points.
100%. Yeah, that's unquestioned, I would say. But James Madison, they're going to run the ball for at least 250 yards. And this is not the Liberty of old. This Liberty team, they should not have lost to Bowling Green. Bowling Green's not very good. I think James Madison wins, and I think they win by like 2 touchdowns.
I think they're favored by 13.5. I think they win by 20.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think they could probably win by as many as they want. I think in the second half, it's just going to be them lining up and pistol and just handing it off at will.
Moving on over up north, though, we got Illinois at Indiana. This is a game, truthfully, when me and James are picking these games, this is a game I didn't want to talk about. Like, honest to God. And that's not me doing the whole, homer thing or anything. I didn't want to, because there's only so much you can say. Indiana has legitimately played the worst Power 4 schedule in the country. Their schedule... I'm sorry?
I said they've played the worst Power 4 schedule, and they've showed glaring weaknesses even against that talent.
Yeah, I mean, it is, and I don't know who this team is. I don't think IU's very talented, if you want my honest opinion. And on the flip side of the house, I look at Illinois. Illinois went into Duke, and they dominated Duke. Mm-hmm. And we all thought Duke was a mid-tier ACC team, with the outside aspirations to, get to Charlotte. Absolutely dominated Duke. And truthfully, that Duke offense and defense reminds me a lot of Indiana. I think they are very comparable. And you know what? I think Illinois, they got the better players. They're going to dominate Indiana on the line of the scrimmage on both sides of the ball. And I think Illinois wins this game, and I don't think they have a very hard time with it.
You're going to have to stop thinking outside my head, Josh. Luke Altmaier, people are talking about him like he's possible Heisman. From the way he played at Duke, just his efficiency throughout the year, I think he's throwing for over 75% completion percentage. He's not turning the ball over. Indiana's not a top 5 at Big Ten team this year. They're just not. Illinois is. And Fegan at running back, he's a guy. And you haven't seen him be fed as much, but he's proven last year that he can take over a game. I think this game, it's going to be more leaning on the running game and play action game for Illinois, as you saw some in the second half against Duke. I just don't think that Indiana has the burners, and I don't think their conditioning is going to be good enough to keep up with Illinois. So I think Illinois wins this game, and they pull away late by 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Okay. Next, we're going to take it down south. Little SEC ACC matchup. Florida at Miami. Man, this is a must-win game for the ACC.
I think on the flip side, it's a must. If there's ever been a game a coach has to have, this is that game for Billy Napier in Florida.
Hey, we could have more breaking news next Sunday night. Next Sunday, when we record this, we can have more breaking news really quick. I think it's getting to that point down there. So Miami, they've blown away every expectation I've had for them. I knew they were going to be good. I didn't know they were going to be this good. But the talent is there. I think Carson Beck has looked cool, calm, and collected, and it is different than what I've seen from a Carson Beck in a red and black jersey. Flip side of that, Florida's in a tailspin. Florida is looking at a very grim outcome of a season. It's bad when you lose the game to South Florida. That really hurts your confidence. Then to turn around and to lose that LSU game that way is an even worse outcome. That is what breaks someone's back mentally, a team's back. And, when I look at Florida, you and I, we kind of texted about it earlier today. I don't think the play callers are there. The guys are there. I don't think the play callers are. And, at a certain point, I think DJ Lagway is a very good quarterback. I think he has all the God-given, talent in the world to go out and be a phenomenal quarterback for the Gators. I don't think it's mentally there for him. And if you have a performance like what you had against LSU, our man Harrison Bailey might be coming in a game real quick.
Yeah. Well, another thing about Florida, not the before I talk about my prediction with Miami,
Oh, and
Florida's
I didn't say mine. I'm sorry. I'm taking the Canes by like 2 touchdowns here.
Florida's running backs were running at will against the LSU front seven.
Mhm.
But Florida passed the ball 49 times yesterday. The play calling, the decision making on that coaching staff, whenever they're getting 5 to 7 yards per carry when they hand the ball off. That's one of the times you wish, like, I don't care what the game plan was, keep running the ball.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think it changes here. I think for the first half, people are going to say Florida is going to beat Miami. Florida's going to beat Miami. I would not be shocked if Florida goes into the half ahead by 7 points. But in the second half, and I hate to say this whenever I'm talking about a team that's being coached by Mario Cristobal, Miami's going to outcoach Florida. And I think Miami
How the
wins this game.
tables have turned on this YouTube page.
And I hate to say it. But that tells you all you need to know about the Florida coaching situation is the fact that I think you put these rosters side by side, they're about equal in every position.
Yeah.
Outside of
No, yeah.
experience position, the difference maker is Mario Cristobal is a better play caller. His time management's awful. I will stand on that, but I don't think it's going to matter here. I think they win by 10 points.
Yeah, I just, again, we just did the Foster and the Pry thing. I would not be surprised if we do the Sunbelt Billy thing next week. And if we do, I'm letting you know right now, James, I'm hijacking this show. We're just talking SEC football for 40 minutes. If they fire us. But yeah, I think you hit it on the head. I think we're both in agreement. Miami wins this game and they pull away with it. Switching it up though, little old Southwest Conference game. We got a little ACC Big 12 action. Southern Methodist University at Texas Christian University. This is the Southern SMU, man. The Ponies. They are a weird football team. Weird team. We talked about them a little bit, earlier in the show, so I'm not going to get in too much about them. But everything I said previously, I still stand on. I don't think that the talent is around Kevin Jennings fully. On top of that, I look at SMU's defense. Brother, that is a bad defense. And what's really concerning for SMU, it is a really bad pass defense. You got this little guy by the name who is one of the most slept on quarterbacks in the country. TCU with one of the better passing games in the country. With all of that being said, this game being at Texas Christian University, give me the Horned Frogs, and I think this game is ugly, personally.
I'm in agreement with you. I was on the TCU side week 1 whenever they played UNC. They were better than I thought they were going to be. I'm willing to put money on him being the best quarterback in the Big 12. He coming off a season where he broke the record for at TCU in single season passing. He threw for 3,936 yards. He also broke the record for passing touchdowns, and that's not just them running up the score. He's a guy that doesn't turn the ball over much, and he's willing to take the check down when he has to. This year, unlike past years, though, they have a running game, and they're able, if they have to take some time off the clock rather than having to score 40 to win. I think they score 40 here due to a poor SMU defense that's bottom 6 in the ACC statistically right now. SMU is coming off a game where they allowed Missouri State to be able to get to the 50 routinely throughout the game. And again, they should have won. They were favored by 27.5. They only won by 18. The week prior, they allowed Sawyer Robinson, but Baylor to throw for 40 yards in a game that they had won, and they allowed Baylor to back into it. I think that might have broke some confidence in that defense's coordinator's mind. I think TCU wins this game, and I think they win 35-17.
All right. That's going to round us out with our picks. Thank you, guys. Play along. Make a little money here and there. Again, we're not professional gamblers. Disclaimer on that. Got to always throw out that little disclaimer there. Really just any key big takeaways that we didn't hit on from week 3 that you want to throw out there?
On the national level, Texas A&M has a quarterback over there. That was a fun game, but their defense is very concerning. Notre Dame defense is nowhere near what it was last year. I wanted to touch on that. Mississippi State's a team to watch for. If you watch any SEC ball outside of ACC, that offense is legit.
No, I think my big thing, this is it's looking like a little bit more of a chaotic year. I'm not quite willing to compare it to 2007 just yet. I don't think it's gotten to that point, but it's looking like it's going to be a chaotic year. I think there is not a clear number 1 in the country. I think there's about 15 teams that are really good, and there's a lot of question marks outside of that 15. It's a fluid season. Don't overreact to single games. We are starting to see trends through week 3. We've seen 2 firings already through 3 weeks of the season. I would not be surprised if you see another firing next week, just being very honest with that statement. In regards to Louisville, though, there, again, question marks. There's so many unknowns because the schedule that Louisville's played. Get through Bowling Green, get a really good win, and then let's just set our sights on the ACC. And let's get this thing really going, and let's get into actual football season.
Make the most out of the bye weeks. The bye week came at a great time after the injury. You're able to gel. You get Sylvester back. Even if he's not at full capacity this week, you get him back before Pittsburgh. That's when you're really going to need him. Having the running backs more fluxed into the game and gel, and wide receiver wise, you got to be able to get separation. You struggle with against JMU. That's what you're looking for against Bowling Green. I think it's a game you should win by 30. You got to consistently be able to get separation.
Yep. But with all that being said, as always for the viewers, thank you so much for watching and tuning into our content. As always, you can always find us here on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. It really helps me in the algorithm. Little fun thing. Along with that, you can find us over on Twitter. We are over at the Cards Companion. We're giving you weekly live content over there. A lot of great posts, a lot of great articles being posted. So please check us out over there. As always, James, my friend. Yes.
Make sure to check the Twitter page on Tuesdays because we'll be posting our weekly top 25.
Absolutely. But with all that being said, thank you all so much. Please, we will see you again next week. James, my friend, thank you, and have a great day. Go Cards.
Go Cards.